So we are going to have a coffee break, but before we do, we have an old friend of Legito, Luigi Cominelli. He is a legal tech specialist at LegalSoft, or LegalSoSoft, and he's an associate professor at University of Milan. He's going to share his thoughts with us on scaling automation projects from implementation to enterprise-wide adoption. So please welcome Luigi to the stage.
John. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and to our Legito friends for inviting us here today. I'd like to tell you a bit about our experience. We are part of LegalSoftTech, an Italian company jointly incorporated by two law firms. Our experience started with knowledge management initiatives in one of these two law firms more than 20 years ago. And part of this experience was knowledge management and document automation. Through the years, we learned a lot by some mistakes, actually quite a lot of mistakes. I mean, we achieved good results, I think, but we also built upon the previous experiences of these initiatives. So LegalSoftTech today provides IT services to law firms, to actually 4 law firms. 2 of them are the owners of LegalSoftTech. Other 2 are service companies or owned law firms that provide legal services in certain specific areas. We started using Legito 2 years ago when the Unique Legal was incorporated. So let me show you a bit about what is our structure, what is the relationship we have with all these law firms and companies. I think this is crucial here, especially in the Italian context. The Italian legal market is not a big one. Our clients, our law firm clients, produce most of their documents in Italian. It's not a huge market. So I think for this kind of development, we needed to achieve some level of scale. And this was the problem probably with previous experiences. Law firms that were too small trying to do it alone. So this is what happens at some point. UniCredit, one of the largest banks in Italy and a group of banks in Europe, decides to put together all the banking litigation in one law firm, which is now allowed by Italian legislation, which is Unique Legal. And Unique Legal was actually put in place by Advan, NCTM, and La Scala, the 2 law firms that now own LegalSoftTech. It was crucial for Unique Legal to achieve uniformity for judicial briefs and to be able to make more efficient this large number of cases of civil suits brought by clients, bank account holders and mortgage holders, and also debt collection procedures. And so they did by unifying all their litigation cases into Unique Legal. And it worked. It worked quite well. It was 3 years ago, and this is when we selected Legito. We made a survey starting from an internet search. So we compared, just like our first presenter said today. We compared all the softwares, all the features, and we came up with Legito as the best solution. We started deploying it. It was just 2 of us at that time, and it worked. It worked so well that the 2 law firms decided to spin it off and put it into LegalSoftTech, which now provides, we're a task force, a dedicated task force of 4 lawyers working in LegalSoftTech and providing these services to all the companies and to all 4 of the companies and the law firms which are in these businesses. So we have to say a couple of things here because you might have problems of overlapping, competing interest. These law firms do different things, but some of these things are not different. So we might say that in some fields, they're also competitors. But they thought that it was more important to achieve scale and establish form of cooperation, in this case a joint venture, to set up automation, which they felt was crucial in order to achieve efficiency in those sectors. So this is how we were born. You see now that there's a larger group of subjects now, and CTM has its own international alliances. They are now evaluating Legito over other softwares that were selected in the past. La Scala has other company and subjects. As I was saying, well, this was a leadership decision. This was the vision of the management at that time. I think it cannot just be a bottom-up decision to come up with this kind of change. We know how lawyers are resistant to change. We heard that, and I'm going into that later on because of all the psychological aspect, which was quite important for us to resolve. Anyway, we went forward with Legal Softtech starting 2022, starting to implement new documents. The two law firms decided it was not important to compete on that kind of content. It was something you could not make a big markup on, so it was more essential to come up together with efficient solutions. A little bit of history here I was telling you about earlier. And CTM was at the forefront on legal tech. We started developing our own case management software quite early. One of the first law firms in Italy doing that. Not only that, making document search, indexing, drafting of the documents more efficient. At that time, we could not select our automation software. It was an Australian software selected by our technological partners, not by lawyers, and this was crucial in a sense. And at that time, we referred to it as a knowledge management initiative. Unique legal, as I was saying, new kind of subject, very important. Here, depending on a change on Italian legislation, businesses, private capital could enter into law firms in a minority, with a minority stake, but still it was possible to introduce some external capital, and this was important too. And this pushed law firms to establish forms of cooperation, in this case, a proper joint venture, and start implementing it and working on the concept and on the technology. This is when we started evaluating softwares and selected Legito at the end of the process. And then end of 2021, effective 2022, Legal Softtech is born, and we are now a dedicated unit. We're 4 lawyers. We are no ITs. We rely on our internal ITs every now and then for the APIs or for the scripts that we need to implement certain sophisticated features in our template, but that's it. We're more or less autonomous. We're lawyers. We have a legal background. We do have a passion for technology. We like legal design, but that's it. What kind of document have we been, templates have we been developing? We started with banking litigation, first of all, claims and receiving claims from the bank clients. At the Italian level, this big bank used to receive dozens of cases per month, and most of them had repetitive contents. So they could differ quite a lot in terms of the way in which these suits were presented, but our response in court was more or less uniform, with a lot of variables, but these variables tended to repeat themselves in time. And so we started, we could say, with one of the most complex documents we can have. So a lot of variables involved. We could build upon the experience that we had in the past years. So the development of the content was pretty quick, but still putting it into a new software was quite complex. And this could allow us to automate a few dozens of cases per month. Most of all, this achieved uniformity in content, uniformity in formatting, which is normally a nightmare for this kind of documents. You know, lawyers are not very expert in all the features of Word, so their documents, especially when they're long and complex, become all mixed up, not nice to watch. And we could overcome that with Legito. And then came all the other sectors, data collection, merger and acquisition. We now have or are in the process of developing letter of intents, NDAs, the due diligence checklist, engagement letters. Debt collection documents in Italy is a quite complex procedure you have to go through in court, involving a number of documents, very often quite long, but with repetitive contents that need uniform formatting, taking a lot of time. And some of these documents can now be managed directly by paralegals. We don't need lawyers anymore for these documents. So at present, we have around more than 40 documents, some other being in the development phase, and working all the time on new ideas and new documents to develop. Now lawyers are understanding that this is in their interest. So they come to us with new ideas, they ask for assistance, they ask to be able to develop their own templates. It's just the four of us who develops these templates, obviously, but they can have a say in the user interface, in the way in which questions are asked, whether to complete the document looking at the preview or at the questionnaire. So we give them a say in a number of things. We try to cooperate as much as possible and make the experience as user-friendly as possible. In these first 2 years and a half, the number of our users has increased substantially. We started with 20 to 30 in Unique Legal. Now we're going over 100 users between lawyers and paralegal, with a fourfold increase. But as you will now see from the number of documents that are produced using our templates, the increase has been even more substantial. We see, starting with a few dozens documents in the first months. As of today, I think we have a projection of creating through Legito more than 1,000, between 1,000 and 1,500 documents per month. So might mean 50,000 documents per year. I think this is something our managing partners like to look at. They feel that some result is being achieved, and lawyers are starting to like it, I think. Of course, there must be a decision from the top. There must be a vision on switching to technology for the legal profession, but there must also be involvement bottom-up We need to be sure that what we are doing it is something that our lawyers like. Because if they don't like it, they're not going to use it. They will tend to keep their old documents, to say they're using automation when in fact they're not. They like to preserve their autonomy, as our Canadian colleague was saying first this morning. I think this is true, and this is absolutely legitimate. So what we do is to conduct formal surveys every year in order to understand what's going well and what we should improve. I think this is a very important part of the process. Even if, well, at some point you may also disregard what is said in these surveys. There will be always someone who will not be happy, never. But we need that they have the feeling of being heard. And of course, we like to improve our products and make them happier. This is the most recent survey that we conducted over a number of improvements that automation gives to the legal drafting job. And you see that these results are quite good. These results are quite good under a number of aspects. Speed, uniformity, context updated, the easiness of putting data in, document formattation. So we have a positive feeling. The most important part for us is the part on the left, those who are not so happy. So we also give them the opportunity to have their say, and of course it's anonymous, completely anonymous, under our responsibility. No data concerning the respondent is going to be revealed, and so it's strictly confidential. And these lawyers and paralegals give good suggestions, and suggestions that we try to follow up. Another quite important thing is the time-saving aspect. So this is their own, the self-assessment of the time savings that they achieve using automation. You see, most of the people here estimate that they reach a time saving between 50 and 70%. And I think this is a substantial outcome, something we look at with some satisfaction. So, coming to the problems, the obstacles that we face. First one being lawyers being jealous of their contents. This is only natural. Sometimes the management gets upset about this. We understand this, but we're sort of in the middle, and we think that professionals are also rightly jealous of what they produce, and so that we encourage them to incorporate their knowledge into Legito models. Of course, again, here they need to have the feeling that their knowledge is not stolen, but we will come to that later. Here is probably another motivation that they give. Sometimes what comes out of Legito is not perfect. There may be typos because the revision was not thorough enough, or there might be formatting problems, nothing that you cannot solve, but when it comes out of Legito and it's not perfect, they normally complain. They say, look, well, you spend money on this software and these people developing templates, and it's still not perfect. I think this is more of an excuse, but we have to listen and not get upset to what they say, and try to achieve the best possible outcome and strive for perfection. Sometimes it takes 2 months to produce, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months to produce a good template, and the partner says, well, how come? This is a 10 pages, 30 pages documents. How come it's taking 3 months? This is hard to understand for them sometimes, but we need to be prepared. We want to give them documents that are perfect. We want to also to give them documents that are easy to complete. And this involves creating an improvement in their logic. Sometimes lawyers work on previous drafts which were created on the basis of tradition, accumulation of past documents. And you're really not able to reconstruct the logic behind it. So every time we create a template, we try to discuss with them how the logic of the choices might be simplified and improved. I think this is also essential in what we're doing and in winning their hearts and in convincing them to use it. Again, it's not stealing their job. It's not telling them, look, you're doing a bad job. It's just working together to achieve this kind of improvement, which with technology becomes even more efficient. Just a short couple of things about knowledge management. I think this expression has somewhat disappeared from the legal tech panorama. I think it's still quite crucial precisely in that sense. We need to convince lawyers, not just with the technology. Having the good technology is an essential part, but it's not the only part. Sometimes it's not even, it's the trickiest part is convincing people to share their knowledge, to put their best knowledge into our templates. We cannot be experts at everything. We have to rely on the content that they give us. It cannot be just a purely technology-driven process. It's still the professional, the human person who's behind the lawyer, who is within the lawyer, that is the protagonist here. So we need to make them understand that knowledge management is efficient and it's in everybody's interest. It's not making your knowledge stolen by other colleagues. And sadly, this is still the impression that we get sometimes. So what we will be working on in the near future? We'd like to promote this idea, and here I'm quoted Richard Susskind, the idea which is very important that people working in legal tech and in automation must become knowledge engineers and designers. So we have to look holistically at our job and promoting not just efficiency and technological prowess and speed, but also better ways of doing the old stuff. And it's going to be a time-consuming thing. And this is harder to be understood in some cases. We think of technology as something that from day one reduces the time that you put into your job. But in fact, in the first time of the implementation and deployment, it's a time-consuming effort. It's something that takes resources, energies. And again, this is hard to understand in some cases. I think we have to deal with this fact that some parts of our job as lawyers are going to be sooner or later, no matter what we think, commoditized. That is, they are going to become something to be sold on the chip, something you need to be able to do very quickly and very well. This doesn't mean necessarily diminishing returns. This doesn't mean that the lawyers are getting poorer. If they become better at what they're doing, I think they could get richer. In this case, we need to reframe our profession, our job, not as selling knowledge in this case, because if you sell it like a good, it can be stolen, clearly, but as content licensing. These contents will change in any case. In a matter of a few years, legislation will change, case law will change, technology will change, styles, legal styles will change. So these contents will change anyway. So I think this is a potentiality we have to look at. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you very much. Hey, we had a question for you because I think you also saw a big jump in production in Q4 2022. Coincidence? What was that? Caused that?
Well, the jump. Well, in these months, we saw we deployed a number of new documents in the debt collection area, which traditionally is quite critical, and so people jumped to it and started using. We also had an increase in users, but that does not explain the huge increase. I think it's the fields. This is one of the fields that you can reap huge benefits almost immediately. And we're looking at that kind of work, those kind of documents and automation potentialities. And I think there's a lot of it that we're still exploring.
Great. Wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. Okay. Thanks. Thank you. All right, folks, we're going to take a